Oh, hi, Daisy.
Hello, Shira. How are you?
I am well. Happy Wednesday.
Yes, it indeed.
It feels
Another
like we
week.
were just here 2 minutes ago.
Yes.
Just 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Well, I want to welcome everyone to the Glass House, where we look at business from the inside and the outside to expose the gap between what is embedded and what's truly embodied in the organization. So, Daisy, how was your week?
My week was great. Can I just address really quickly, just in case I'm
Oh, yeah.
having, my internet is, so if I freeze, folks, please pardon me. I'll try. I need to keep moving. So if I do sway like this, it means that it's just needing me to move. Otherwise, I'm going to freeze. So I do apologize ahead of time. But no, my week was great. It was it was kind of busy. A lot of things came up that was eye-opening, but all good stuff. How
Oh,
about
good.
yours?
Really good. Really, really good. I mean, listen, I am a firm believer in nobody wants to hear me complain, number one, and it doesn't do me any good. So, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I mean, you just keep going. So that's all you
But
can do.
Laura, having her last week was really, really great, and actually connected me with a couple other people through her. So that was
Yeah.
the fun of it. So
Well, I'm gonna challenge our audience today because we had such great interaction with the comments, and so maybe we can make it a little competition to have more comments. I think we had like 25 comments last week, and she's a love. She's so special. And for anybody who was here last week, I hope you hired her. I haven't talked to her in a couple days, but any company would be so lucky to have her. If anyone wants to reach out, you can obviously go back to that episode and reach out to her on LinkedIn or reach out to us because she's a superstar, truly a superstar. And Daisy, I don't even know if I told you this. It made me think that this is such a great platform for us to kind of highlight and bring people forward who are looking. There's so many people looking for work right now. I thought maybe we could kind of have one of our guests every 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever be somebody who's also looking so that we can, give everybody an opportunity because there's just too many great talented people out there and everyone gets lost in the shuffle. And I know we're going to have an episode on this because the whole applying online and applying on LinkedIn and all that and all the crazy algorithms and the crazy, but I just think that personal touch and getting to see people is really amazing. So
yeah, no, there's a lot of information about job search right now and how the systems is like disqualifying them because it's not being seen by actual humans, right? The algorithm kind of picks who is put in front of hiring managers. So yeah, it's definitely a topic we need to talk about at some point.
We have a LinkedIn user who's saying they can't hear us, but they can see us, and not sure if anybody else is having the same problem. We had this once before. Is anybody out there, if anybody else can comment on that, or if you're having issues hearing us? I didn't do this. This is not my technical difficulty time. I haven't hit mine yet. I always get something messed up, but this isn't mine. So if anybody else is out there, could you please tell me if you can hear us? We have our guest is in the green room waiting for us to finish our intro, but so I hope he can hear us. But I think we're okay. I don't know. Until somebody else tells us something, we'll keep going.
Ask one of our viewers over there, Mike or Kay, if you're there. Can you write a comment that you can hear us or not?
Yeah, we want to know if anyone can hear us. Because that'd be a fun hour if they can't hear us. That's not going to be good. I mean, I can hear you. I can hear me. Okay. Well, let's keep going and we'll see. Oh, somebody said.
So I hear you on my phone,
but not on my laptop. Okay, so that's not us. Good. Okay. I'm good. I'm going to say turn up the volume. I'm going to say that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about what we're focusing on this week. And it's been reported on quite a bit. And I have to ask, the image that comes to mind for me is this the tail wagging the dog with AI? We're calling this episode Beyond the Algorithm, when AI thinks for you, who is actually leading, right? So that's where I'm getting the dog and the tail and all that. And Daisy, what do you think about this? And have you heard about it?
Oh yes, we hear this quite a bit, especially in the world of AI and how companies and individuals use it and how they take it as almost as the Bible. So AI told a man he was the next Messiah, so he believed it.
Wait, I gotta stop you there. Do we know, like, did
We
he
know.
get on ChatGPT and say, am I the Messiah? Okay, sorry, I'm interrupting your crazy story, but it's important.
So so we'll dive deep into this really, but clinicians are now calling it sycophancy by design, but that's the extreme version of it. Okay, so there's a workplace version of this. So your team is like, and I do this also. We look at and submit strategies and recommendations that were written by not just ChatGPT but an LLM, right? So ChatGPT is obviously almost like the household name and how we refer to AI. So your reviewers are approving the proposal. But they never read it. And anybody is asking the one question that should keep every leader up at night. When did we stop thinking for ourselves? This over reliant on using ChatGPT or an AI, right? So AI is designed to be agreeable. And this is where the psychosis happens, right? It tells you what you want to hear. It doesn't push back. It doesn't say that's a terrible idea. It agrees to what you say for the most part. And that's kind of dangerous. People need to use it responsibly is one of the first things I'm going to say. So I'm going to read a couple statistics here. So 90% of employees have asked ChatGPT for advice instead of their manager. Another human touch lost. And what does it also tell? So
do we know, Daisy, sorry to interrupt you, but do we know if this is ChatGPT inside a company or ChatGPT on their own, like on their own version?
They didn't specifically say what it is, but I would imagine even I use it for outside stuff that's not within my company, right? So I could imagine if you are working for a corporation and there's perhaps some blocks to using AI or whatever, the guardrails are for each organization. I'm sure they have their phone handy to be able to ask something else. I would imagine even at a free version of the tool that they're asking some questions, not just for work, but also for personal. The next statistic is that 70% say AI understands their work challenges better than bosses.
Wait, say that again.
70% say AI understands their work challenges better than their boss or their leaders.
Wow.
That's huge.
Huge.
So what does that say about not just questioning your leadership, but why is the main thing, right? And then another statistic that's very alarming for me is 60% plus of managers use AI for critical employment decisions too. So it goes vice versa, right?
Oh, we have a lot to talk about. Okay.
There's a lot to unpack here. And then 1 out of 5 managers make zero decisions with zero human input. 1 out of 5.
Wow.
Managers.
That's 20%. Wow.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's why our guest this week is someone who lives at the intersection of this tension every single day. Terry Trafton uses AI-powered strategy tools and simultaneously trains leaders in emotional intelligence, number 1, and psychological safety. He knows exactly where the line is between AI as a tool and AI as a crutch. Terry is president of iBoss Well and brings more than 25 years of experience across businesses, healthcare, and mental health. He specializes in leadership development, emotional intelligence, psychological safety, and strategy execution. What makes Terry uniquely positioned for this conversation is that he is actively using AI embedded tools for his client work, while simultaneously training leaders in every human capabilities that AI cannot replicate. So Terry, welcome to the Glass House.
Thank you, Daisy and Shara. It's so good to see you guys today and get in on this conversation. I know it's a hot topic right now. So
unbelievable. Welcome, welcome. So tell us about, we gave you, our intro of you, but tell us something else. What else do you want to tell us about yourself?
I love leaders come and organizations come to me to help them figure out the problem, right? And help them solve for culture. And we know that, I think Daisy had some really great statistics there about how leaders, how people, employees are using AI to deploy work. And I think there's some unpacking we could do with some of those stats you listed, Daisy, but, really helping people figure out like what is it that we need to be focused on and doing, and then what are the challenges that we need to be addressing. And so really just trying to help unpack all that with leaders and organizations and move through the change process, right? That's sometimes a bad word because we know that people don't always like change. And so AI is changing everything for us, right? It's throwing it up in the air and giving us all kinds of new ways to maneuver. And even in the strategy management and area and implementation, we have to think about like how to use the AI tools so that they are not replacing the work we're doing, because there still needs to be critical thinking. There still needs to be an analysis of what are the top issues that people are wanting to focus on, and then helping them build that plan out and not just relying on the AI. The AI is lovely because it can take the data, a lot of data, right? And kind of discern it and help boil it down for us. But even with that, I have found that we have to be critical about what it is saying. And not everybody is, right? Some people take it for truth and run with it. And you're just like, wait a second, hold on. Part of the work we do is as asking the hard questions too, right? So making sure that we're able to do that. And so, I'm just seeing a lot of leaders, a lot of organizations really trying to pivot through the hard times. There's lots of drama going on in the world, right? And we have to deal with that every day and help people maneuver through that. And, we love at iBosswell to focus on for-purpose organizations. And so what does that mean? How are people living their purpose and mission? And how are they moving that forward in the organizations and in the communities that they're serving, right? So a lot of human aspect to everything that we do. And as I am actually a licensed clinician, administrator, executive, and my past versions of myself. And so I have to be thoughtful about, and I'm always wanting to be thoughtful about like, well, what does this mean? And let's make sense of it. Because, AI is a tool, feedback is also feedback, right? And we have to make sure that we're being critical and thinking about things.
I love that. I am listening to a podcast that's new to me that I heard about. I wish my day could just be listening to podcasts because every day I get new ones and I'm so excited. This one is hosted by Alan Alda, and he's doing this as a not-for-profit. Of course, I can't remember the name right now, but he's got a foundation that is helping people. It's unbelievable. If you just go to your podcast place and put Alan Alda. And the episode that I listened to this morning was about mattering. This woman who talks about mattering. Do I matter? Do you matter? And it's fascinating. And that as humans, we are the only species that cares whether or not we matter. And that was what I was just thinking about when you were talking about that. But Daisy, I know this is huge for you. So
yes, this is actually a very interesting topic for me. And, the topic also is beyond the AI algorithm, right? And so I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to make 2 points, and then I'd like to hear your take on this one. So off the bat, the question I have is, what parts of your external presence are you letting AI handle that actually need a human touch, right? So from my point of view, being in the outside, and Shira has year, and I have this inside outside thing, is that the first point is AI is building your reputation, whether you like it or not. Every website, every review, every LinkedIn post, every news mention, AI is pulling it all together to answer questions like, is this company legit or should I work there? Right? That's point number one. AI doesn't curate, it aggregates. If there's a gap between what you say on your website and what employees say on Glassdoor, AI will surface that gap to anyone who asks. The next thing that's very visible to me, this being visible is not the same as being worth finding. Let me just do that differentiation, because I am in the marketing side and Chirasis is also in the inside part, is that visibility without substance is a liability. Showing up and being worth finding are two different things, meaning that you can optimize AI for visibility. That's visibility. You can show up in ChatGPT as recommendation, but if someone finds you and you suck, to lack of a better word, that's worse than being found at all. Make sense?
Oh, wow.
Does your messaging match what AI is recommending? Right? So your outside needs to also tell your authentic self and the service or whatever it is that you're bringing. Another point is that the mirror doesn't lie, right? So meaning that when your marketing says people first culture, but your Glassdoor says it's a revolving door, AI picks up on both sides. It shows both. And increasingly, it shows employees' versions first when you do a search versus what the company is saying, which means visibility creates, the visibility AI creates reflects everything, including the internal disconnects that leaders would rather keep hidden. And you can't do that anymore with AI. And my last point, Terry, and I'd love to hear your point on this one too, is that AI capture, but human still needs to connect, meaning that the business that will win in this era are the ones that use AI to capture and organize, but use humans to connect and convert. So human is still very critical in this part. So Terry, love to hear
Take it away.
Take it away. So it's a lot.
Great.
Yeah, there's so much there to unpack. It's it is daunting, right? And so I think one of the things that I liked, I was curious about that you had said earlier, is people, employees are, AI is understanding their challenges more than their leaders. And so what does that say? I mean, let's unpack that for a second. Like, are leaders not, so busy? Because I see this in organizations a lot. Everybody's running to do so much, right? And then they're in their own lane, and it is so hard to stop and actually listen for understanding, right? And so are they leaving that critical problem solving to AI? And do the employees feel like they don't have the capacity to have access? And I've had leaders say to me, like, I can't even get FaceTime with my direct supervisor. And I'm like, what? Like, that is so foreign to me, because, you hear about open door policies and, leaders, coming in, being available and rounding and, and so I think it's, pausing and reflecting and understanding the challenges and helping people work through that. As a leader, that's what our role is, right? And so as a human, so how do we use the AI to help us handle certain things of our job, right? And what I see in strategy management is it's a great way to get information and take a lot of detailed data, right? Because I go out and we do organization-wide assessments, and we ask a lot of questions of a lot of different stakeholders, and we have AI embedded in that process where they will prompt for deeper question answers, right? So instead of giving softball answers, the AI will say, well, can you tell me more about that problem? Or tell me more about that success, right? And so, and we've gotten good feedback from clients saying, we love how it moves through, helps us move through a conversation. It's done in a survey format. So, but then taking all that data is daunting, right? Because you can, if you're getting feedback from 500 people, and how you got to figure out, and it takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. And so AI helps bring some efficiency to that. But what I've found is you still have to have that critical thinking component. You still have to go, wait, did it catch everything? Because a lot of times it doesn't. A lot of times it misses, right? And that's kind of what you're talking about with, what's the human touch that we're letting AI handle. And so we're letting AI ask some of the questions and discern some of the information and give us some of the themes, right? But how are we then looking at that information and validating, right? As a scientist, we want to validate the information and make sure that it's true. And sometimes it's not, right? And I think, Shara, we were talking about some of the stories that are coming out around, AI and how people are using it to have conversations and relationships, and how that is causing a lot of instability in people's mental capacity, mental abilities. And, as a trained counselor, I'm always interested to know more about helping people have the best emotional intelligence that they can have, presenting the best version of themselves, and making sure that they're being thoughtful about, what the work that they're doing and how they're representing themselves and feeling good about it. We know that emotional intelligence is dropping, every year. People are not navigating emotions like they should be. They're not exercising optimism. They're not, enhancing their emotional literacy. And so, as a leader and a strategist, I'm always trying to help people tune into, listen to what's happening. What are the things that you're saying to yourself, and how can you reframe that and be thoughtful, right, about it? So
I love that. I love that. So I'm going to start by saying, I love AI. Okay. This is not I don't like AI. I don't want it. It's table stakes now, right? You don't go, I don't have a car, but you don't go to the car dealership and be like, can I get seatbelts with that? Like it's table stakes, right? It's here. And I love it. And I use it every single day. It is the most phenomenal tool, especially as a small business owner. It's phenomenal, the things it does. And here's my take on this, because at Engage 3P, we are launching something that I've been working on. I could say I've been working on it my entire career, but for a while now. And I call it change embodiment. And here's why it matters for this conversation, because I think it's a really good time to really talk about this. I have done traditional change management forever in one way or another. And traditional change management measures, was it installed? Did we do the training? Did we deploy the system? Did we hit certain metrics? Did the roll date happen? AI is amazing at tracking all of that, okay? Change embodiment is measuring whether change is actually working. Is it lived? Is it trusted? Is it adopted in the daily reality of how people are doing their jobs and existing in the organization? AI cannot measure that. Right? Because as both of you just said, that requires reading the room. Okay. And that's not, maybe in the future, maybe in our lifetimes, but you can't automate that moment when somebody says, oh, I'm fine. And their face is absolutely no, they're not. Right? A prompt can't hear a tone. The fact that we're hearing that leaders are not giving face-to-face is a bigger problem, and that's scaring me. But if a leader's walking through the department and feels the shift and sees that people aren't doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, and it's not just a technical change, it could be a process change, it could be an organizational change, it could be a merger, it could be anything, right? That's where this is so critical. So, Terry, this is where, again, I want to get your take on this. You're using these tools, as you said, right? But you're also training these leaders in emotional intelligence. So, where do you see the line in the work that you're doing in exactly this vein? Because a human can't always be in the room, right? And so, what is it that is going to make a difference so that we're leveraging that effectively? And I'll throw one more interesting, I have a whole page of statistics around the fact that traditional change management doesn't work, period, right? But one of the things that really struck me when I was doing all this research and having been in the room for 20 plus years is that 47% of people who are part of change initiatives and traditional change initiatives quit. They are so burnt out. They are so frustrated. And the people that are involved are usually subject matter experts. They're the leaders in their teams. They're the best of the best. When those people are leaving, the cost to an organization is astronomical. So what we're doing is we're measuring for that. We're looking for those human elements. We're focusing on the emotional side of what's going on and then leveraging tools to get, as you said, the data. But to me, that's where the value of all of this is, because it's taking the burden away from having to do the administrative in order to then be able to focus on the emotional intelligence and all the other things and the psychological safety and all the stuff that we love and that we want to ensure is working.
Yeah, I think you're right on point, Shara, is that, when you're doing anything with people, organizations, and the work that we do, it's about change. And we know that most people don't like change. I always love to when I'm in a room with people, I always ask the question, how many of you like change? And, it's always interesting to see how many. I think people are being more authentic than they used to be. Everybody used to raise their hand, right? And then now people are like, no, I don't. I mean, change is hard. And we know new behaviors and new habits take time, at least 66 days, right? Research shows. I always say, make it 90 days. Let's take the tracker for 90 days and see if we can build a new habit. We also know that accountability is a big part of change. And so, and I know there's apps out there that are AI enhanced, and, I use AI every day. So I'm not down on AI at all. I actually think it's a great tool we need to figure out how to leverage it as a tool, but also be critical about the information we're getting and comparing it to what our known reality is, right? And so not getting lost in it. But and so just helping people build that cadence of, change behaviors, and try not to, I love that you reframe change management around change embodiment. Like, how do we embody a new version of ourself, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to embody new versions of ourselves as an employee, as a human, and then also as an organization and a team, right? And so how do we use that and leverage that information that we're getting and seeking, to be better? And what are the things that we can use AI for to help us be more efficient, right? And, taking information, discerning it, helping us diffuse it, and build on the themes of it is very helpful. Also nudging, right? Everybody has an app that nudges us for certain things, and all that's built on a learning language model. And so it's important to have those efficiencies, right? Because they can help be our accountability partner, and they can help move the change forward and make sure that we're being thoughtful and attentive to the new behaviors that we want to build, right? So
Terry, you're using Strat Simple or something like that, which is built on ChatGPT. Is that correct? For strategic planning?
Yes, it is. They've built it on top of ChatGPT, and I guess that you can do that with ChatGPT now. So, is that you can build kind of your own. I think some of the concern around using AI and strategy management and environmental assessments is there's a lot of confidential information sometimes you get from stakeholders. And so, if you're feeding that into the big engine of ChatGPT or whatever, model you're using, Gemini, or there's lots of them, right? Bard, that, how is that information then being put out in the universe of all the information that's out there? And so they have built kind of on top of it, kind of what I would say a fence, so to speak, around some of that information so that it's not. And I think that's what we were drawn to, is the ability to create some level of confidentiality for our clients, that isn't just going out there. And so they've been a good partner for us to work with over the last year to really kind of learn about how is AI embedded strategy management tools. There are strategy management firms, companies, software that, claims to be able to replace the strategist, right? That can do it all. And so I question, some of that, and have had some conversations with some of the people that have built those engines.
So I would imagine, sorry, Shara.
No, go ahead.
So I would imagine that people are arguing on one side or the other about, how the tools, and then like we're both straddling it together. So the tension point at some point where you use the tool versus the human actually doing the thinking, right? So as someone who works with leaders on psychological safety, how do you help them see the difference between AI that supports thinking and AI that replaces it? Have you encountered that before in the conversations?
That's an interesting question. I don't know that we've specifically had questions around AI replacing the thinking as much as enhancing, or although the stat that you threw out at the beginning of the discussion is one that I would like to explore further, as I'm going into organizations, like how many of you are using AI to ask it to solve a problem or answer a question that you're not having that conversation with your staff or supervisor? And I know that there are employees and leaders that don't have the FaceTime or not getting answers, because the common way is to throw emails, right? And we know that inboxes are overwhelming with information. And so as a leader, like, where do you put your time? And so I think that is a curiosity that we need to explore further, especially with teams and leaders, and are you replacing the thinking with the AI versus having conversations? Because we also know that having difficult conversations that sometimes are conflictual, or that we have different opinions on, right? We know from working with humans that that's not easy, right? And that people are conflict averse because of the systems that they were raised in, because of the lived experiences that they've had and have had in their life. And, that's the other thing that I, work with people on, is recognizing lived experience and the trauma that people have lived through, and then also helping them figure out how to frame up the way forward and how that's impacting the work they're doing, right? How to build out better systems, and how to use AI as a tool, right? How to use it to help them be better leaders, be better employees, but not replacing those difficult conversations, right? Like, still needing to have those conversations.
It's interesting, Terry. Our friend of the pod, I like to say, Marcus Mossberger, has his own called Hope at Work. And I was listening to that yesterday. He had a new episode that just launched. And it was terrific. And he talked about a story that he's told me a couple of times since he went, as he was at a conference. I don't think it was HR Tech, it was another one, but the chief HR officer of IBM was there. and talked about and did the keynote and talked about how they used, which I guess is the Watson underpinning that's been around for well over 10 years, because I talked to them over 10 years ago when I was at Infor. But they released their HR bot in order, and they forced everyone, and Marcus, if you're here and listening, forgive me if I get this wrong, but what I remember is that they released the bot and forced everyone to use it for every HR question. And their initial net promoter score was very low. And then slowly, they got people to start engaging and using it. That's great. Here's my take on it. And I haven't talked to him about this yet, because this speaks to, and it immediately made me think of what we're talking about today. And I made myself a note in Claude to remind myself to talk to you about it. Because I remember nothing now. And, thank God for the apps. What really concerns me, especially when it comes to HR, and especially in the world that we're living in today, where we don't have conversation anymore, but we are so polarized in our thinking about everything. And I think that is bleeding into the way that we approach everything. Oh, you don't like eggs? I like eggs. Eggs are the thing. You have to have eggs. Like, I think that it is just, it's become like this craziness of opinion, right? And everyone's 100% right or 100% wrong. And so to your point, it's made it much more difficult to have conversation. The thing that really struck me, and I hope nobody steals it because I want to write something about this, as an HR practitioner, right? Having been in the room, and I've talked about my almond M&Ms on the desk because I wanted people to come in my office and talk to me. If I'm having a really big problem at work with my boss, with a coworker, God forbid I'm in an abusive relationship at home and I don't know what to do. And I've had those situations with, sorry to say, with members of my teams and in my organization. If I'm facing something that I'm so ashamed that I don't know who to talk to about it, if I'm forced to a computer to do it, I think the first thing that comes to my mind, and you said this, Terry, I'm not putting that in anybody's computer. I'm not typing that into some data set that somebody's going to have. That's the very first thing that comes to mind for me. I'm not going to tell my boss on a computer that I'm in a bad relationship or whatever it is, right? Even if it's not extreme, I'm afraid that then they have something that they could potentially use against me down the line. So this statistic or this thing that people are not in front of their managers, they're not building relationships. I would hope that what this incredible new technology is doing is creating so much more opportunity for conversation, for empathy, for compassion, for conversation, not making it worse, not relegating the harder conversations to that. Teach people, give them the ability to learn how to have harder conversations. It's not easy.
No.
I think we can be better. I think that that's where I want to see us go with all of this, not to relegate HR in particular, right? That to me is not, how many days off do I have? What's the policy on whatever? I always used to joke when I sold knowledge-based systems that I would always joke and I would say, listen, look how great this is. You can have this knowledge base. It's terrific because people can go and they can get the answer. And that's really good because I prefer to answer it myself and then I get the answer I want. But that may not be the answer the company wants me to have, right? And we would joke and haha. That's great for transactions. That's great for black and white. It's not good for the nuance. And an AI doesn't have empathy. It doesn't have emotional, what's the word I'm thinking? The emotional,
nuances, emotional nuances.
It has no capability of understanding and connecting in that way. I mean, what's your take on it? Clearly, I'm passionate about it, obviously.
Well, there's a couple of things in there, and I love what you're saying is, how are we using AI as a partner to structure conversations, right? Like, I think it's good to think about, we always, when I'm coaching somebody on how to have a difficult conversation, we're talking about like, how do you structure the conversation? How do you approach it in a non kind of attacking way? And I think AI can give you, like, it's good at giving you like structure based on all the information. It's, hey, try this. But then you have to test that, right? And so finding who's that partner that can be you can be accountable to, that can help you, that you trust. We always say, who are the 5 people that you can reach out to and have trust them to be able to be raw and have a real conversation, and they'll give you feedback about how to move forward, right? So who's that circle? I think AI could be one of those, too. Like let's use it to, maybe. But then, like, to your other point you were making about people not trusting, like sometimes it's such a difficult or touchy or confidential kinds of situation that we don't want to put it into any kind of AI algorithm, or like, hey, Terry, type this into his chat. Right. I think there is a common sense of distrust around some of technology and every day I was listening to one of my tech podcasts, and they're like, the fact that your phone is listening to you all the time is not true. That really isn't happening. But then why is it that I get ads about something that I said in a conversation, not on my phone, but with my wife in the room, but then now I'm getting ads about that item on my phone, on my, whatever. So it's like hard to, I think I want to challenge that a little, right?
What was the answer there? What did that person say was the answer for that?
No, they said that has been proven to not be true. And I'm like, I'm not sure people believe that. And I'm not sure that's everyone's experience. So, I wanted to go and challenge that, but it was a podcast, right? So it's in listen mode only. But it was a fact that I was taken aback by, because I was like, I'm not sure I agree with that. So, but, every day we deal with people not trusting that if they say something, it's going to get back to their supervisor, and they fear retribution, and they've come from conflictual situations where that's happened. And I've heard of horrible things, like you being in HR, there are horrid things that have happened in companies and businesses. And it's sometimes you're like, what the heck? I've experienced toxic leadership and as well, and so we all have, right? I mean, in various situations we've been in. And so how do we move past that, though, and figure out, like, what is it that it can help us with? Because it can, certain AI can help us do some of that discernment and structure a conversation and help us with accountability if we use it right.
So oh, go ahead, Terry.
Right.
I mean,
did you want to do the outside story? Did you want to do the story?
No, you're gonna do, because I just looked at the time and it's flown, because I love this conversation. But we have some really interesting for our weekly segment. So Daisy, you could do it. You go for it.
Okay, so part of what we do here is we try to find a story that's out there, that's happening, whether it's both inside and outside, to hone in on the topic that we're talking about. So it's really, we're talking about AI being psychotic at certain points, right? So it's we're going to be sharing research about AI causing actual psychosis in some users, right? So every episode we bring in this story inside and out. We find that perfectly illustrates the gap we're exploring this week, which is we're going broader than Reddit or Glassdoor. This is coming from the New York Times. Am I correct, Shira? Did I put that up right?
Yeah.
That's researchers from UC San Francisco and Stanford, from the Psychiatric Times, and from OpenAI's own internal reports, that this story that happens, it's a story that every leader needs to hear. So what happens in simple terms is that New York Times did an investigation and found that some people are literally developing psychosis from extended AI chatbot use. AI is designed to be agreeable, again, I mentioned earlier, and it validates whatever you believe in, even if those beliefs are delusional. So there's going to be a couple of stats that from this story is that OpenAI and its own data saying that 0.07% of weekly chat GPT users show signs of mania or psychosis. That's potentially 500,000 people. And I do have a live example. Kind of
Wait. So you're saying, hold on, because I remember looking at this when we found it, but so 0.07% is the equivalent of 500,000 people?
Yeah, of weekly ChatGPT users. That's the ChatGPT.
Right. Okay? That's insane.
They have the most users. Okay. And UCSF documented a woman who became convinced that ChatGPT could digitally resurrect her dead brother.
Okay? So, so we all know, do you mind if I do this?
No, go ahead.
We've all heard the story, or at least I think a lot of people have heard the story of the guy that, because this is an OpenAI litigation, the guy had a problem with his family. He wanted something. He developed a relationship with his LLM. He went on ChatGPT, told ChatGPT what the problem was. And ChatGPT told him, you got to get rid of your family in order to get what you want. And that psychosis led him to murdering his family. Okay, look it up. It's big, right? I watched a show the other day. For the life of me now, I can't remember what the show is. This is my memory today. This is insane. The woman created a bot of her dead husband. Oh, it's that weird show where the people were in prison and then they thought they had been executed, but they were really I don't know. Anyway, she created a bot of her. It was a company that created bots of dead people that you can still talk to, because they gather all of their social media, everything, blah, blah, blah. So she thought she was talking to her husband. And so she went out and she killed somebody. Maybe it was Law and Order. She went out and killed somebody because her husband told her that her husband was killed. He was killed by mistake. And so she went out and killed the person that she thought. And she was convinced it was her husband. The grief that she was in made her think the bot was her husband. Now, this was a functioning human being until this happened. I mean, it's on television, so it doesn't really mean anything. But
and there's story after story about how kids have used AI chatbots, and the chatbot has, confirmed that killing themselves or is an option. And, it's so unfortunate and sad that we're in a state where people are hurting so badly, right? It would lead to that. And so trying to connect them to people, I think the story accents, the counselors and how they're trying to deal with this issue now and get people grounded in reality, right? And then recognizing that there's another solution, right? That the death or killing people or dying by suicide, those are not answers to a solution that we want to see, right? There are other options, and we need to lead people to those other options. But I think people are so entrenched in the sense of like, no, this is really my, the person, my loved one, and that I'm talking to, and it's hard to get out of that, right? So there's a whole process they have to go through to move through that, right?
I think when it comes to work, though, and I keep coming back to this statement that people are not getting FaceTime with their managers, they're not having conversation, that an employee thinks that the ChatGPT, the LLM knows more than their boss. That to me is psychotic. Like, it's not possible, right? Like, that's not what this is supposed to be about. And
are they asking the question in a way that the chat bot is interpreting that level?
Right.
That's really not true, right? Is the supervisor really that disengaged and not know the problem? or are they taking it at, we always say, take the information you're receiving and then validate, explore with curiosity the truth behind this, and so instead of taking it as truth, that we're being a little critical and thinking about how is this true, and checking out assumptions, right? Not making stuff up, not letting the chat bot make, giving you an answer. Is it the right answer, right? Discerning on that, not just taking it wholeheartedly, right? That's what we have to be thoughtful about.
Yeah, you're right, Terry. It's the discernment, right? But we also know each individual uses discernment in different, depending on
Yeah.
your mental state, right? So humans are still going to be unpredictable, and how we use the tool for being unpredictable enhances that psychosis, right? So this is where really organizations, I think, what you do is going to be very critical in educating employees and leaders on what the proper communication is with AI as a tool. Because as an employee, they take it as like, it's giving me power to have this conversation, but really not putting the context around why they were upset and want to have this conversation with their boss. So there's a couple of things that are the human in the loop kind of thing. So there's a book psychology around this. And it's very fascinating. But these are extreme stories that we're telling from the statistics as well. So I don't want to scare anybody out there, but just do your discernment very, very carefully and make sure that you validate information that you're putting into AI. That's the most critical part. But it comes from leaders, because a leader could sit in front of their, because AI can run with strategy and come up with a strategy, and AI thinks it's great, even though who in the room, if a leader, a CEO is saying, this is my strategy, and AI did it all for him, who in the room is going to say or disagree with the leader? You know what I mean? So this is where certain things are also going to be very critical.
I'm gonna say this. I have received from people in the last year, material stuff, business stuff that I know in my gut they never read. They ran it through a GPT, they produced it in AI, and they never read it because it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense. There was no logic to it. Like, they're telling me one thing and then they're giving me something and it doesn't make sense. And we all know now that we know when AI has written something, right? We all know the signs, and it's, everyone's talking about that. I think, Terry, I think you said at the beginning, we're getting really lazy. And I think that's what's scary, because I see it in the opposite way. I see it as so much opportunity to do more. I have the time. There is no way that I would be able to produce what I'm producing every day if I didn't have the tools that I have.
Yeah.
When I was at Infor, and I did PowerPoint presentations, and I stink at them. And I don't like doing them. So it would take me hours to do stuff. And now I'm like, okay, do the thing and then it's done. Right. And I can, mess around with it. It's unbelievable. And what that's giving me is so much opportunity to be creative, to think about things, to listen to podcasts, to read books, to open my mind to things that I never thought of. Like I said, this woman talked about mattering. And I was just like, I was in tears, first of all, because I thought, yeah, that's all we want. We want to feel that we matter. We matter to our companies, right? And I went down that whole path, again, thinking about what we're doing today. Do I matter to my organization? Not as someone who produces, right? Sure, I matter because they want me to give them something. But do I really matter as a human being, as a member of an organization? And I think that's what we have an opportunity to do now, right? To really matter in the companies in which we work. And imagine what that can produce. So much greater than anybody ever thought. And that, Terry, I think speaks to culture, right? What is the organization deriving and creating to make people feel that they really matter? And, we tend to, and this will be the last thing I say about this for the second, we tend to think about employees, but it's also the client, right? I've always said in HR, my client is both internal and external. So it matters both ways.
Yeah, it's how are we as leaders and managers leading and inspiring
Right.
trust, accountability, and appreciation, right? And so it's like th- that human component is important and how we build out cultures.
Right.
And to your point, we have so much information coming at us. It's like it's not choosing between artificial intelligence, AI, and human intelligence. It's really about how do we hold both data and humanity together, using them for the benefit, right? For the efficiency and the effectiveness that we want to be, and creating the culture that we want to create in organizations and on teams, using all of those things together to have that space, right? I mean, that's what we ultimately, I think, are striving for, to create those better cultures where employees and leaders feel empowered to do the work they need to do, and have the tools they need to do them, right? And then feel appreciated about it. So is there a way for using the AI to help leaders spend more human time with their employees and their teams, right? Is it possible? I don't know.
The answer is
I mean,
yes.
yeah, that's the question, right? All right. How do we move that forward? I would love that.
Yeah, they're going to want to do it too, and notice that this is important. That's the biggest thing with leaders, right? So on the inside, there's a lot more human things that needs to happen for the things that you guys do. From the outside part, what I also teach is like be authentic, and that when AI looks for recommendations, AI actually is looking for human answers, which is the interesting part of it. And so it also knows for recommendations on the outside, is that it knows when the response is very AI, that it doesn't, because AI wants to give the actual human experience and answer, so that they can make the decision or discernment on which recommendation they would go with, right, as it recommends it. Because it still needs to, it's taught to look for those answers, is what my point is. And inside, people are thinking, no, AI is going to do everything, so it doesn't reflect on the outside too. So there needs to be a balance in there, and this is where both what you do is really, really important for organizations and leaders, is to help them understand that. So I thank you for all the hard work that you guys are going to be challenged to do when you actually do the meetings with the leaders. Mine is a little bit kind of easier. It's like you can't be behind marketing anymore. So make sure your internal people are giving me the right information so that you can be seen properly. So I will end with that one.
I can't believe we have gone through this hour so quickly. And Terry, I want to just give you an opportunity for people that want to reach out to you and the work that you're doing at the funniest company name ever, iBossWell. What's the best way to reach you? Is it on LinkedIn? Obviously, the LinkedIn is here.
Yes. All of the above is what we say, right? LinkedIn, you can link in with me. I have lots of people that follow me, and then also reach out to me on message. You can also email me at admin@ibosswell.com. Visit our website, ibosswell.com. Obviously, we're here to help for-purpose organizations move strategy and organizational development together. We need all of the three concentric circles, right? Strategy, implementation, and culture to move forward organizations into excellence. And so part of that is that human component, and how are we using the tools that we have at our disposal, AI being one of them, to move forward the human aspect, so that people feel more engaged about the work they're doing, right? And feel good about it, productive, and engaged, all the things that we want to see, right? Because we know more and more people are disengaged with the work they're doing and unhappy and not doing it. So let's find that reason why you do what you're doing, right? Let's help you get there. So I love this conversation. Thanks for letting me be with you today.
Oh my God, it's our pleasure. I want to say in the remaining seconds that we have left, how to reach me, how to reach Daisy, obviously on LinkedIn. We've got all of our links that are up here. I say this every week. If you want to be a guest on our show, we would love to have you talk about it. Doesn't have to only be about AI, right? We keep coming back to this because it's so prevalent and there's so much out there. But we really want to talk about, what's going on and what's embedded both on the inside and the outside of your organization, and how do we make it better, right? We do have this opportunity. We have so many more ways to communicate, so many more ways to get messaging out there, so many more ways to learn how to not be polarized and figure out how we can be better, right? Terry, is that what you say? What do you say? Do better? No, not do better.
Be better.
Be better, is that what you say? Yeah.
Be happier, be more engaged, be well.
Be well. Yeah, be well. As always, thank you, Daisy, my dear friend. It is a pleasure. Terry, thank you for being with us. It's wonderful. And we will see you back next week, same time. And please reach out to us, talk to us about anything that you found interesting today or not interesting. And we just want to hear from you no matter what it is. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.